The park was quiet that afternoon, filled only with the laughter of children and the distant barking of a dog. Families gathered on benches, enjoying the golden glow of the sun. But amid all the joy, a sound cut through like a knife, high-pitched, trembling, and full of pain. "Mommy! I can't stand up." A little girl's voice cracked with desperation as she lay on the ground, tears streaking down her face. Her tiny hands trembled as she clutched her knee, trying to push herself up, but her legs wobbled as though they had no strength. Her mother, exhausted and pale, rushed to her side, but it was clear she was just as helpless. The words were soft at first, almost drowned out by the world around them. But one man heard them. A man whose life was surrounded by wealth, luxury, and comfort. A man who had long forgotten the raw cries of need echoing in the streets. His name was Daniel Grant, a billionaire known for his steel heart and sharper business mind. He happened to be walking by, his usual air of indifference surrounding him, when that cry pierced his soul. He turned sharply, his eyes narrowing as he saw the little girl trembling on the ground. Something inside him twisted, something he hadn't felt in years. Without hesitation, he rushed toward them, his voice booming, "What happened here?" The mother, startled, looked up with eyes wide and fearful. She can't stand. "Please, sir, she's been unwell. I've tried to get her help, but," her voice broke, shame filling the cracks. "I can't afford it." The little girl sobbed harder, "Mommy, don't let me stay like this. Please. I want to walk like the other kids." Daniel froze. Her words weren't just a plea. They were daggers, each one tearing into a place he thought had long turned to stone. Memories of his own childhood, when his little sister had cried the same way before illness took her away forever, came rushing back. For the first time in years, Daniel's heart burned with something beyond money and success. It burned with compassion. He knelt down, his expensive suit brushing against the dirt, and gently placed a hand on the little girl's shoulder. "You will stand again," he said firmly, his voice shaking with emotion. "I promise you, sweetheart." The mother looked at him in disbelief. "Sir, we don't have the means. The hospital, they turned us away." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then they'll answer to me. Get up. We're going now." He shouted for his driver, his security, his people, anyone nearby. His usual commanding tone, once used to close ruthless business deals, was now directed at saving a fragile life. Within minutes, his sleek black car was ready, and he lifted the girl into his arms, carrying her as though she were the most precious thing in the world. At the hospital, chaos ensued. Doctors rushed, nurses scrambled, and papers flew. Daniel's presence commanded immediate attention. Doors that had been closed for the poor mother were thrown wide open in his name. The doctors worked quickly, but the diagnosis was grim. The girl, Emily, had a rare condition weakening her muscles. Without treatment, she would soon lose the ability to stand at all. But treatment came with a price. One her mother, Clara, had no way of paying. Daniel slammed his hand on the doctor's desk. "Money is not the problem. Save her. Do whatever it takes." For the first time in days, Clara's tears flowed not from despair but from relief. But challenges were far from over. Emily's condition required long therapy, surgeries, and constant care. Every step of the way, she struggled, cried, and sometimes even begged to stop. The pain was unbearable, the progress slow. Clara stood by her daughter night and day, but she herself battled exhaustion, malnutrition, and the guilt of not being able to provide. Daniel, though, became more than just a benefactor. He visited the hospital daily, bringing flowers, toys, and stories to keep Emily smiling. For a man whose world once revolved only around profit margins, he found himself spending hours holding a little girl's hand, whispering, "One day soon, you'll run in the park again." But it wasn't easy for him either. The media began to question his sudden acts of kindness. His board of directors whispered that his heart was distracting him from the empire. Old wounds resurfaced as he saw Emily struggle, reminding him of the sister he had lost. At times, he felt like he was failing all over again. One night, sitting alone in his penthouse, Daniel whispered to himself, "Why am I doing this? Why do I care?" And then he remembered, because this time, he had the power to make a different ending. Months passed. Emily's therapy continued. There were days when she cried and screamed, "I can't do this," and days when she surprised everyone by taking tiny steps forward. Clara found work at the hospital to stay close, her pride slowly rebuilding as she could contribute too. And Daniel found a family he didn't know he needed. He went from being a lonely billionaire to a man who laughed with a child, shared meals with a struggling mother, and felt the warmth of belonging. Finally, the day came. The therapists gathered, Clara stood shaking with anticipation, and Daniel waited with his heart pounding in his chest. Emily held onto the bars, her tiny legs trembling. Slowly, carefully, with tears in her eyes, she stood up. Not for seconds, but for minutes.